Years after its closure, the abandoned Blackwood Asylum stood as a decaying monument to its dark past. Locals avoided it, claiming the place was cursed. Rumors of cruel experiments, unexplained deaths, and whispers in the dead of night surrounded the asylum like an invisible shroud. For a group of 4 college friends, Liam, Emma, Noah, and Grace, the asylum was the perfect setting for a thrill-seeking adventure. It was Halloween night, and they decided to explore the infamous building, armed with flashlights, a camera, and their bravado. The iron gates screeched as they pushed them open, revealing the overgrown courtyard. The asylum loomed ahead, its windows shattered and its walls covered in graffiti. A chill hung in the air, and the wind seemed to whisper warnings as they approached the entrance. "Are we really doing this?" Grace asked, clutching her jacket. "Come on, it's just an old building," Liam replied, forcing a grin. "What's the worst that could happen?" The group stepped inside, their footsteps echoing in the vast, empty hall. The air was damp, and the faint smell of mildew mixed with something metallic. The walls were lined with peeling paint and rusted wheelchairs. As they explored, they found patient records scattered on the floor, detailing disturbing treatments like electroshock therapy and isolation experiments. Noah picked up a file, his face paling as he read. "Listen to this," he said, his voice shaking. "Patient 246, severe paranoia. Claimed to hear voices telling him to harm others. Treatment, indefinite confinement in room 13. "Let's find room 13, Liam suggested, his excitement undeterred. Grace hesitated. "I don't think we should—" "Too late," Emma interrupted, pointing to a rusted plaque on the wall. "Room 13 is down that hallway." The hallway was darker than the rest of the building, as if the shadows were thicker there. The group moved cautiously, their flashlights illuminating the crumbling walls and broken tiles. They reached the door to room 13, which was slightly ajar. Inside, the room was empty except for a single iron bed frame bolted to the floor and chains hanging from the walls. Scratches marred the walls, forming illegible words and claw marks. "This is insane," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible. As Noah took pictures, his camera suddenly malfunctioned, the screen flickering before shutting off completely. The room grew colder, and the group felt an oppressive weight pressing down on them. A faint sound broke the silence, a whisper. "Did you hear that?" Grace asked, her voice trembling. The whisper grew louder, turning into a chorus of voices overlapping, each one pleading, screaming, or laughing. The door slammed shut behind them, and the flashlight beams flickered. Panic set in as they tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The voices grew deafening, and shadows began to move across the walls, taking on humanoid shapes. One shadow stepped forward, its form solidifying into a figure with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. "You shouldn't have come here," it rasped. Emma screamed, and the lights went out completely. In the darkness, the voices turned into blood-curdling shrieks. The group felt icy hands grabbing at them, pulling them in different directions. When the lights flickered back on, Noah was gone. "Where is he?" Grace cried, her voice breaking. The door finally gave way, and the remaining 3 stumbled into the hallway, only to find it had changed. The walls were now lined with cells, and inside each one were shadowy figures reaching out with skeletal hands. "This isn't real," Liam muttered, trying to convince himself. They ran blindly, the asylum twisting and turning like a maze. The whispers followed them, growing louder with every step. Emma tripped and fell, and when Liam turned to help her, he froze. A figure stood behind her, its face inches from hers. It was Noah, but his eyes were empty, and his mouth twisted into an unnatural smile. "Stay with us," he whispered. Emma screamed as the figure lunged at her, and the lights flickered again. When they stabilized, Emma was gone. Liam and Grace were the only ones left. They found themselves back in the main hall, but the exit was nowhere to be seen. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew thick with the stench of decay. "We have to get out," Grace sobbed. Liam nodded, but his eyes were drawn to a large mirror on the wall. In its reflection, he saw himself and Grace, but behind them stood dozens of shadowy figures, their hollow eyes glowing. The figures surged forward, and the mirror shattered. Glass shards rained down, and the room plunged into darkness once more. The next morning, the townspeople found the asylum gates open. Inside, there was no sign of the four friends, only their belongings scattered in the main hall. On the wall of room 13, fresh scratches spelled out 4 new names: Liam, Emma, Noah, Grace. The whispers in Blackwood Asylum grew louder that,